Ian, Tiki, and Tierney, how you doing today, bud?
What's going on? How you guys doing?
Good.
We are good. Ian, I think the first thing that comes to our mind is, the likelihood of this Brian Flores suit going, first of all, before judge, him confirming or solidifying it being a class action instead of an individual action, and then discovery, which then gets a little bit ugly. Like, what's the league's thought on this as we sit right now?
The league's thought, first of all, is to defend itself, but also to investigate. And I think it's really two-pronged. And, obviously the league came out really quickly with a statement saying, these are all meritless. And it's like, okay. And then, as is generally the case, everyone involved has denied everything. The Giants have, the Broncos have, the Dolphins have, the league has. Really, everyone has denied everything, which is to be expected. The next part of this is what is true and what is not true. And I think, the league is trying to look into, did owner Stephen Ross really promise Brian Flores $100,000 per loss, trying to tank for the draft pick that ended up as Joe Burrow? Is there proof? What does it mean? If it is true, what are the, penalties? Because that's bad. It's so much. And I think there's a lot related to the coaching cycle into the hires, but then there's stuff that is also not related to the hires that they're probably going to end up looking into as well.
I want to get back because there's a lot there. By the way, if that's proven down in Miami, it's my opinion Ross needs to lose his franchise. There's no wiggle room there, but I do want to get your thoughts on that. But before we do, you talk about how quickly the NFL distanced themselves from the wording in the suit, 57, 58 pages, and they did it very swiftly. The Giants waited to really go. Now, they had an initial reaction, then they had a more thorough one when they had a chance to really pour through it. In 40 minutes, how do you go through 58 pages and say that everything is without merit unless you were tipped off? So were they tipped off? Otherwise, that seems pretty baseless.
I don't know that they were tipped off. I had not heard that. And judging from the reaction, it would be surprising. I don't think there are a lot of people that knew this was coming. Even people close to Brian Flores, were still surprised. Coaches who coached with him, Bill Belichick, for instance. I think a lot of people were surprised by this. So, no, I don't think they got advance notice. And, I don't know what the league went through to initially, deny it all. And hope they went through the right channels and spoke to the right people. And so, you put out the initial statement. And then now it's the hard part, though, because what is real, what is not? Were there sham interviews going on? Were there interviews with minority coaches for jobs that, are there interviews for minority coaches for jobs that are probably going to get filled by a white male? I'd say that probably does happen. Did it happen in Brian Flores' case? I don't know. I had always heard that Daboll was the favorite, just like Bill Belichick had, but I hadn't been told definitively and certainly couldn't report it until I was told, yes, Daboll is the guy. But, challenging this and figuring out what is obviously going to be tough for everyone involved.
Yeah. How much, Bill Belichick in this is obviously a key piece to it. Why is there been any pushback at Bill? Is the NFL looking to investigate Bill? What do we make of Bill Belichick's involvement in this?
I don't know that Bill Belichick did anything wrong. What teams will do, and this is something that's very common, they'll reach out to former coaches and they'll say, what do you think of this candidate or that candidate? And Bill Belichick has become sort of like Parcells was / still is really. He's become a little bit of a league elder. So people ask him his opinion on guys and he will give it. And he knows a lot of guys. I mean, he worked with Brian Daboll and he worked with Brian Flores, was close with both men, respected both men. And I think, when they asked him his opinion, one thing about Belichick is he will just give it and probably doesn't care. So I don't know that he said, you should hire Brian Daboll over Brian Flores, but I do know that he gave Daboll a really strong recommendation.
Mm-hmm. So
and again, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, I agree. Although let's hope this recommendation's on point because his last recommendation was horrible with Joe Judge. we're talking to Ian.
I have some problems with that statement. If you give Joe Judge an offensive coordinator, you don't saddle him with Dave Gettleman for 2 years, this would have come down differently. But unfortunately, we're never going to know. And Judge probably never gets the chance to prove me right.
I hope he does. And by the way, I don't totally disagree with everything you just said there. I was saying that somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but I hear you. Those are fair points. We're talking to Ian Rapoport. All right. Can you envision a situation? There's 4 jobs left with Peterson taking the Jaguars job, and I know that Flores.
3 left.
Pardon me, 3 left. My bad. Then I know that Flores likes, and the Saints like Flores, and I believe the Texans like Flores as well.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine a situation where he is coaching while simultaneously being, embroiled, wrapped up, suing the NFL? I know Al Davis did this, but it's a different generation. Can that happen? I mean, I know it can. Do you see it possibly happening?
It is possible, and it's not just Al Davis. We've seen this before also. Eric Reed, safety, was with Colin Kaepernick suing the league, and he ended up getting a job in playing for the Panthers, if I remember correctly, just the timing of it. So it is possible. There is precedent. It's so interesting. I don't think he's going to get the Saints job, but the Texans job, he really is in the mix for it, and he's one of the finalists.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't – it sounds like Flores is pretty upfront with the fact that he may never get a head coaching job again. I am not quite there yet, because if you're the Texans, the only thing that matters, if you're Nick Caserio and you're Jack Easterby and you're Cal McNair, only one thing matters, and that's hire the best coach for your team and win as many games as you can. Those are 2 things. But anyway, you get my point.
Yeah.
So Brian Flores is a great coach. He has a better resume than Josh McCown by 1,000,000. And he certainly has a better resume than Jonathan Gannon, the defensive coordinator of the Eagles, who's the other candidate, although he is a bright young coach and I think will do a good job. So I could literally, and I've thought about this, I could see Nick Caserio at the press conference after announcing Brian Flores and going yeah, I know there's this other thing going on. I'm not worried about it. It doesn't have anything to do with the Texans. I'm focused on the Texans, and this was the best for our football team. Any questions? I could literally see that happen.
Yeah, and do you think because of some of the rumors that we heard that Deshaun Watson and Brian Flores want to work together, that solves in any way the Deshaun Watson situation in Houston?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually don't. I wish it would, because it would make my life a lot easier. But the way I understand the Watson situation, because of his relationship with the owner or lack thereof, and because of the way the organization has handled his situation, variety of it, he does not plan on playing for the Texans again. Could Flores come in theoretically and change his mind? I guess anything's possible, but if Flores took the job, it wouldn't be because he could get Watson to stay.
Yeah.
And if Flores got the job, it wouldn't be Watson saying, all right, well, now I'll stay. My anticipation was if he got it, then it would say, all right, this is not going to work. Let's trade him, and let's use all the picks we get in the trade to build this franchise the right way.
Mm-hmm. So that's Ian Rapoport, NFL Network. He's with us here on Tiki and Tierney on the Fan.
Ian, you know how this works with this the Rooney Rule and the minority coaching candidates, and I saw a partial list, and it has some couple of college coaches, couple of the names that you always see, Eric Bieniemy, etc. But the reality is that there are a bunch of black defensive coordinators, a handful of offensive coordinators, a lot of special teams coordinators. These are all black and minorities. A few quarterback coaches. Who are you hearing is the next black candidate in the NFL? Because obviously this will come up, and it'll keep coming up, and probably will be talked about ad nauseum for the next few months here. But who are these people that we should be identifying?
Good question, and this is obviously very frustrating because this is a good year with a good group of minority coach candidates. I thought we'd see a couple or more black head coaches, and we still might.
Mm-hmm.
But it's frustrating because the candidates are good. So let's go through them. Aaron Glenn was the defensive coordinator for the Lions. The Lions were terrible, but his defense played well and played very hard. He is, you guys know him in New York. He is dynamic.
Yes.
I think he's going to be a really good candidate. Gerard Mayo with the Patriots, de facto defensive coordinator, really good candidate as well. Certainly someone to keep an eye on. Todd Bowles, I thought would get a job this year and did not. I think that was a little surprising. Let's see who's on my list. Obviously,
did you mention
Flores,
Leftwich?
We talked about Leftwich. I think probably could have had the Jaguars job.
Yep.
Really pushed for it. Another really good candidate. So there are some. Here's one that you guys probably not on the radar. Thomas Brown, who might end up as the new OC of the Rams or the OC with Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota.
Okay.
He's black and really, really good leader. Also a good coach, but really good leader. Those are some names to keep an eye on going forward.
Good stuff. Ian, last thing here, we're talking to Ian Rapoport. So we had Hugh Jackson on the show yesterday, and you know as well as we, he's a good dude, all right? We like Hugh. He's good in front of a microphone. My one challenge, my one critique on Hugh is that he never seems to take total ownership of his failures. And maybe failures is a bit strong.
Or any.
Yeah.
A bit strong.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is. Anyway, we had him on the show, and he kind of backtracked a little bit, as he did on some other shows, about the financial incentive. He gave some clarity or some context there. The Stephen Ross thing is different until it's not. If it's proven, if it is proven that he actually offered Flores $100,000 or any amount to overtly lose a game, I mean, under no circumstance, Stephen Ross can maintain his franchise, right?
I mean, this is one of the main questions going forward. And the honest answer is I don't know, because it's so unprecedented. It would seem to be an unbelievably egregious decision and action. It would seem the consequences would be and should be catastrophic. We've also seen very, very few or any, I don't think any owners lose their team. Jerry Richardson sold the Panthers.
Carolina.
But he was going to anyway. And that was his decision. Like, he could have fought it, but the agreement was when he died, he would sell. So he was like, let me just do this now. This is the right time. And it was. Dan Snyder obviously still owns the Commanders. Weird, but Dan Snyder still owns. Sorry, it's just I'm like so used to saying Washington football team. Dan Snyder still owns the Commanders, despite all the situations there, legal and otherwise. So, it would have to be Flores would have to have it 100%. It would have to be 100% true. And then maybe we start talking about it, but there's no precedent.
No, I get, but listen, I don't need a precedent, Ian. Respectfully, I don't need a precedent, because the entire model of the game and how it correlates to fans is based on the believability and the authenticity of the outcome. And you cannot get
100%.
You know what I'm saying? You can't get in bed, from billions of dollars with betting outlets and have an owner, greasing the coach, attempting to lose the game. Yeah. There is no way he would own the team if that's true. None.
I mean, you're right, first of all. And I don't know what's worse than that, but there's not a lot of things. That's pretty bad. If this happened, it's pretty bad. But the gambling thing is interesting, too, because he's an investor in a gambling company, at least one, and the NFL is now has partnerships with So if you have an owner offering money to lose, and then you also have the gambling ramifications, like if this is true, this is as serious as it comes. I just don't know whether it's true or not. And, if it was a conversation in a room with a small group of people, how many people could have witnessed it?
Yeah.
Probably some, but not that many.
Yep. And we'll find out. I got you. Enjoy the weekend. I'm sure we'll get together next week, obviously, talk about the game. Appreciate it, Ian. Thank you.
All right. Look forward to it, guys. Take care.
Good, Ian.
All right, man. Ian Rapoport.